Hi, my name is Kylie and I'm an instructor here with the Cloud Project. Today we're going to talk about fast food. We're going to take a brief look at how fast food is made and talk about climate change and what you can do to make a positive impact on this planet. Now, let's go over the vocabulary that you will need to know for this lesson. Let's start with fast food. What is fast food? Fast food is food that is typically pre-made and cooked to order. Instead of waiting forever at a restaurant for the chef to make your food is done within a few minutes. You may have tried fast food at McDonald's, In-N-Out, Domino's, Subway, Taco Bell, Panda Express, or even Starbucks. These fast food restaurants are known as chain restaurants, meaning that there are many of them around the world. A consumer is someone that buys something. When we talk about fast food consumers, we are talking about people who buy and eat fast food. When I mention mass production, I'm talking about the process in which a lot of stuff is produced really quickly. For example, a baker might make one cake in 2 hours, but if a factory mass produces cakes, they could make 50 cakes in 1 hour. I will also reference industrial agriculture, which means lots of big farms that are huge in order to grow a lot of food. Climate change means changes to Earth's weather patterns. Climate change is bad for the planet because our planet is getting hotter. For instance, instead of having cold winters, some places around the world are experiencing warm winters, which isn't normal. This is due to the greenhouse effect. To give you background, the greenhouse effect is a process that is acting like an oven door around the Earth. Earth is getting hotter, but the greenhouse gases in our atmosphere won't let the heat out of Earth's atmosphere into space, just like an oven door prevents heat from escaping your oven. Fossil fuels can come in the form of oil or solids like coal. When we burn coal or we burn oil, greenhouse gases are produced and energy is released, which we use to fuel and power electricity, cars, airplanes, and so much more. Now, let's go over the guiding questions. 1. How do we, as consumers of fast food, contribute to climate change? And 2. How can we change our thinking to make more earth-friendly food choices? As this video goes on, keep these questions in mind. Now, why does fast food exist? And why is mass production in industrial agriculture so important? Let's start with the facts. Did you know that fast food restaurants have been around for over 100 years? While these restaurants have only gained popularity within the last 50 years, did you know that about 1/3 of all Americans eat fast food daily? That's approximately 85 million people. The reason why many Americans eat fast food is because fast food is fast, cheap, and consistent. People are always in a rush, so it's no surprise that they are willing to pay for food that is cheap, ready quickly, and tastes good. And the more fast food we buy, the more fast food needs to be made to support everyone buying it. This is called supply and demand. We demand fast food, so companies supply it. To make this food fast, shortcuts are taken. Mass production and industrial agriculture allows companies to make lots of food fast and cheaply. One of the reasons fast food is cheap is because chemical additives are added to make them last longer. This means less food is thrown away, saving large companies money. Chemical additives also allow for a consistent, appetizing product. This is hard to maintain when our food travels all over the world just to get to our table. Thanks to chemical additives called preservatives, we don't have to worry. Throughout a restaurant chain such as McDonald's, the food is consistent. This means that a Big Mac from a McDonald's in California is going to look and taste the same as a Big Mac from a McDonald's in New York. Freezing the food also helps to preserve it from going bad. That's why our parents like to put leftovers in the freezer or refrigerator. The cold temperature keeps food from going bad. Sometimes chemical additives are also added to improve the flavor and color of food. You may even have some food dye in your cupboard right now. Here I have hot dogs as an example. The hot dogs are made with food dye to make it that reddish color you see on the right. Then, the hot dogs and hot dog buns are frozen so that they can stay fresh throughout their truck ride to the restaurant, where they are defrosted, cooked, and put together to form a hot dog. Let's take a more detailed look into this process. Starting from left to right, we can take a look at the basic process of how fast food becomes fast food. First, our planet provides the necessary tools for farms to function. It provides farms with the land and water to help raise livestock or animals that are raised for the purpose of food, and crops, an overall term for any plant grown for food. After the livestock and crops are harvested and collected, they get transported to a factory where they are made into food and packaged. This is usually a multi-stage process. Take pizza, for example. Milk collected from cows is sent to several factories to be made into different kinds of cheese, such as cheddar, mozzarella, and Parmesan. Some tomatoes are sent to a factory to be packaged, while other tomatoes are sent to another factory to be made into pizza sauce. Wheat is sent to a factory to be made into flour, and then all that flour is sent to another factory to be made into pizza dough. On top of all of that, the cheese, tomato sauce, and pizza dough that we just made needs to be sent to more factories to be made into pizza and packaged. That's a lot of factories. And remember, these factories are huge because they are making the tomato sauce, cheese, and pizza dough to be sent to pizza restaurants around the entire US. That's a lot of food. To make that food, a lot of energy is used in the factories, which creates a lot of greenhouse gas, which isn't good for the environment. After our ingredients are packaged, they take another trip to the fast food restaurants themselves, where they will be eaten by hungry customers. All these trips that the food is taking from factory to the restaurants in trucks, airplanes, boats, and trains uses a lot of energy in the form of fossil fuel, and therefore creates a lot of greenhouse gases known as pollution. With that said, the dairy and meat industry is the largest contributor to climate change when it comes to the food industry because there is a huge demand for dairy and meat products. These products are used almost every day by people. Now let's take a look at the ingredients often found in fast food. It's no surprise to anyone that sugar, salt, and fat are common ingredients in fast food, but I want to talk about why and share some serious knowledge with you. Did you know that sugar comes in many forms? While we often think of sugar as the grainy white stuff that tastes sweet, it can also come in the form of syrup, such as honey, maple syrup, and high fructose corn syrup. In fact, there are over 50 different forms and names that sugar comes in, and fast food restaurants use a mix and blend of them to create the perfect sweetness and give their food the perfect flavor. Did you know that on average, our yearly intake of sugar has increased from 128 to 158 pounds since 1985? That's a lot of sugar. Salt is also used to enhance the flavor of food. You've probably added salt to dishes that you've cooked, such as scrambled eggs, veggies, meat, and even baked goods such as cookies. But did you know that salt is a preservative? Salt has been used for hundreds of years to preserve food so that it doesn't go bad. Now onto oil or fat. While you may find learning about saturated versus unsaturated fat to be an interesting topic to learn about, today we're going to talk about trans fat, which is found in almost all fast food. Trans fat is a bad oil or a bad type of fat because it's not nutritious at all for our bodies, but it sure does taste good. Because most fast food arrives at the restaurant frozen and pre-packaged, the food is typically cooked by frying it in oil. Frying the food allows it to cook faster than if it were to be cooked in an oven and allows the food to last longer. Phew, that was a lot of information and you're probably feeling a little worried about the future of our planet. Well, don't, because there's a lot you can do for this planet. So, what changes can we introduce to protect our planet better? Well, if we still want to eat fast food, we have the option to choose fast food that is healthier for our bodies and planet. Choosing healthier fast food, such as vegetarian options without meat, or dairy-free foods are a good way to help the planet, as the dairy and meat industry is a large contributor to climate change. We can also choose to buy foods at places where we decide what ingredients go into our food. By doing this, we can have a basic understanding of what ingredients we are putting into our body. We can also eat less fast food by cooking at home. Home-cooked food is a great way to reduce the amount of greenhouse gas in our atmosphere. Remember supply and demand? But when we stop paying for fast food or start paying less for fast food, we create less of a demand. If there is no demand for fast food, then large-scale farms, factories, and fast food restaurants are forced to either close or listen to consumers and find better ways to grow and transport their food that are better for this planet. Cooking at home also provides us with a great opportunity for us to develop our skills as chefs and even try recreating our own fast food dishes at home. Now, let's get cooking. Hi guys, today we are going to be making healthy cookies and cream baked donuts. And for this recipe, the recipe will be posted in the description down below, but I also will be letting you know how much of each ingredient we are going to use. So we're going to start off by taking half a cup of applesauce and 2 tablespoons of olive oil and adding that to our bowl. The applesauce is going to moisten the cake and also add a little bit of sweetness, while the oil is going to make sure that the donuts are nice and tender and moist. Now that that's done, we are also going to add in our single egg. And I'm just going to go ahead and compost that. And we are also going to add our coconut sugar. This is 2 tablespoons of coconut sugar and about a 1/4 teaspoon or a pinch of salt. So this is going to be a pinch of salt or 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. You could use brown sugar, you could use white sugar. Any sugar works for this. I'm just using what I have in my house. And on that note, coconut sugar actually comes from the coconut, and it's actually less refined than white sugar is. So that is why I'm going to be using it today. So this recipe is going to be plant-based except for the chocolate chips, which we are going to use because I don't have dairy-free chocolate chips. The goal by making these donuts dairy-free is to contribute less to the dairy industry and find alternative ways to make our favorite foods. By doing this, we are going to reduce the demand for dairy and also help to reduce the pollution and greenhouse gases that are produced during dairy production. To this, I'm going to add my pure vanilla extract. I'm just going to eyeball this, do a splash. And the last ingredient I'm going to add is my almond buttermilk. As you can see, it has curdled a bit. That is what we want. This is 3 tablespoons of almond milk with about a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice to make it nice and curdled. By doing this, we are creating a vegan version of buttermilk. By adding buttermilk, our dairy-free buttermilk, I should say, not vegan. This is going to add a lot of moisture to our donuts. Next, I'm going to add my flour. So here I have a cup of flour in total, 3/4 of a cup of white whole wheat flour, or you could use all-purpose flour, white all-purpose flour, or you could use any flour you have at home. And I also have a 1/4 of a cup of almond flour. The reason I'm using almond flour is because it also creates moist, tender cakes. But you can just add a cup of whatever flour you have at home. And then I'm also going to add, I have here a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. And that's what's going to make our donuts nice and chocolatey, because we're doing a cookies and cream donut, so we want that chocolatiness. Ooh, almost forgot. I have here 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder right here and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. This is going to help our donuts rise so that they're nice and fluffy. Now that our batter looks like this, I am going to go ahead and add in our chocolate chips. These are not dairy-free. Of course, you could find some that are, but I don't ever recommend going out of your way to buy food that is dairy-free or vegan or vegetarian if you already have some alternatives at home that aren't. So I recommend using whatever's at home before you go ahead and buy more food. So let me mix this up. And I think that because I absolutely love white chocolate, that I'm gonna add a little bit more than 1.5 tablespoons. that might be, so maybe make that 3 tablespoons total of white chocolate chips. I'm just gonna move these bowls to the side, along with our vanilla and other ingredients. This here is flour. This was just in case our batter wasn't thick enough, but I think we're okay. So now I have my donut cavity. If you don't have one, you can obviously make these into muffins or a loaf cake. Any sort of pan will do. So yeah, and I'm just gonna portion these out and scoop these into there. And I have already greased these with a little bit of canola spray. If you don't have that, you can use any type of oil to just coat the pan so that you can easily pop these donuts out when they're done. These are pretty messily done, but they are good enough to eat. So I will go ahead and bake these at 350 for around 20 minutes, give or take. And then we will be back. Okay, the donuts are done and I have let them cool for quite some time. It's been about 2 hours. And right now I'm going to put a drizzle on them. Here I have white chocolate and coconut oil. I used about a half a cup and a half a teaspoon of coconut oil. And I melted that in the microwave for about a minute. I would cook it for 30 seconds in the microwave, stir it, and then do it for another 30 seconds and continue that if it still isn't fully cooked. So now I'm just gonna snip off the ends and drizzle it. Here I also have some strawberries in case I have some extra white chocolate glaze, or drizzle rather. And if you don't want to do a white chocolate drizzle, you could always use milk or dark chocolate chips. Additionally, if you don't want to do a drizzle at all, you could do a glaze with powdered sugar and water. I'm gonna do a little bit more over these. And there you have it. Healthy baked cookies and cream donuts. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Click the video on the screen to see more from the Cloud Project.